One of my favorite holidays of the year is Mother's Day. This past Sunday, we had the great honor and great privilege of honoring our mothers. As I look back on my life, I'm 42 years old, and just looking back over the brief 42 years that I've lived on this earth, I cannot even begin to speak to how much I appreciate my mom. When you think about Mother's Day, you have to go back to pre-Civil War. You have to go back to Miss Jarvis, as Miss Jarvis was working to help some soldiers who were wounded, and she recruited several ladies in the area to help as they would work on many of these soldiers who were wounded in battle, and from that is how Mother's Day got started. And so when you think about the sacrifice of a mother, when you think about the love of a mother that she has for her children, Mother's Day really ought to be celebrated 365 days instead of just one. And I don't know, hopefully you did. Hopefully you let your mom know how much you appreciate her. If you didn't this past Sunday, shame on you. And I would encourage you to reach out to her today and just let your mother know how much you appreciate her. I have been looking forward to this episode of God and Country for the last several weeks, as we had scheduled a special guest to be with Reed Cooley and I tonight. I'm so thankful that we can have this guest on. Governor Bryant, we are so thankful, sir, that you can be with us, the 64th governor of the great state of Mississippi. And I want to say thank you for, I know you're a busy man. I know that your plate is loaded up and you have a million things going on. But Reed and I, we really appreciate you taking the opportunity to come and be on God and Country and talk about the importance of Christians being engaged in the political arena. So, Governor, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being with us.
It's honored to be here. One of the things I always do is, as busy as my schedule is, I look forward to the things that God has given me an opportunity to do and be a part of. And God and Country is certainly one of those. If it's a Sunday school lesson or to speak about my faith, I never turn those down. We always make time for that on the schedule, no matter how busy we are.
Yes, sir. Well, Governor, thanks for being with us today. And Reed Cooley, as always, it's good to see you in studio. How you doing? You have a good Mother's Day weekend?
I had a fantastic Mother's Day weekend. We pigged out for a bit on some crawfish, plenty of sweet tea, but there wouldn't be a Mississippi Mother's Day without those. So,
that's right. That's right. Well, good.
Fried chicken
or catfish.
Yeah, catfish will do.
Well, the good thing is whenever we finish the recording the show tonight, we're going to have some fried chicken.
Wow.
We'll have some fried chicken, some good old sweet tea and mashed potatoes.
In the South, we can make any holiday about food.
That's right. We do a good job of that.
Right.
For sure. Governor, one thing that I really appreciate about you as governor, you did a lot of great things for the state of Mississippi, but especially in the faith community. One thing that I as a pastor and I as a Christian, one thing that we really shoot to aim for, and especially with God and Country, is we really are shooting to get Christians to engage in the political arena. I believe this with all my heart, that the answer for America is not necessarily a political party. It's not necessarily the Republican Party. We know for sure it's not the Democrat Party, but the answer for America is Jesus, is Jesus Christ. And that's one thing, that I as a Christian and I as a pastor is we push and we urge Christians to engage in this political arena. And I believe that if Christians will engage in the political arena, I think that the right people will win elections, and I think that the right policy will get passed. And Governor, one thing that you was the champion of, you was a champion of life, and you stood for life, and you came under a lot of fire because of your stance on life. I mean, the media attacked you. I mean, a lot of people came after you, but you didn't waver. I mean, you stood unwavering, and you did not allow what the left will sing about you, and you didn't allow the media, their attacks on you. You didn't allow that to stop you from fighting for life. And I'm going to go back and talk about that a little bit, about your stance on life, because we all know that Roe was just overturned, and it's because of your legislation. It's because of your stance as a governor. And if it wasn't for that, there would still be abortion widespread happening all over America. So let's go back and talk about, that for a few moments, and how your faith led you in standing as strongly as you stood, whenever it comes to life and protecting the life of the unborn.
Well, Dad, I do remember how difficult it was for my team, my staff, people around me. I would say we would get death threats by people who were mad that I wouldn't let them kill their baby. Just think about that. But I always felt a sense of peace about it. My dear friends and my pastors and others would come up and say, I know you're going through a difficult time. This was in the heat of the battle over some of the first anti-abortion bills we had passed, even back when I was lieutenant governor, but working my way up, always keeping an eye on the road and always listening to God's admonishment to stay that course, to protect those children. And so I always felt very good about it. I would thank people and say, thank you very much, but I'm okay with this. I know exactly why I'm here. And to protect unborn children, the idea that I even had to argue with people that was the right thing was just so foreign to me, at how anyone could protect such a heinous act against an unborn child. And all the excuses we would hear. But I can't tell you, there are those public that would wither under the media, under the intensity of the left, to worry that they may lose some votes with suburban women. It was beyond my ability to understand that they would come in and go, I may lose some votes in this area. And that you're talking about trying to stop infanticide. And I used to tell them, let's just say we were in Germany in the late 1930s, and we knew what was happening to Jewish children. Would we not try to stop that? Would we not go into the ovens? Would we not run into the battle to say, we've got to stop the children and these adults from being murdered? And yet it happened. It was happening every day in the Fondren community of Jackson. Every day, children were being slaughtered, infants. And there were there people to protect it. There were people in the media that I knew when they would interview me were just angry that I would come out of a little kid from the Delta to start with and become governor of the state of Mississippi. But my top priority, the number one thing I was there for, was to protect the unborn. And they would come, I would have elected officials, I would have the media come in and go, this is against federal law, Roe v. Wade, they're going to overturn it, we're just wasting our time. How can you waste your time when you're trying to stop the infanticide of children, not in New York and California, but in Mississippi? So I remember telling one of the reporters with the media one day said, so you want to end abortion in Mississippi? I said, absolutely. She had this shocked look on her face like, you really? I said, absolutely. My goal is to end abortion in Mississippi, and I'm going to work every day to try to make that a reality.
Governor, I was there the day when it came out of committee, and I remember talking to Mark Baker that morning, it was a Monday morning, if I remember right. Mark called me, and Mark said, Dan, we really need to put it on the legislators because, as you mentioned, there was some legislators talking about we're going to lose votes. That these people are going to lose votes with here. And so Mark was like, Dan, do you mind coming to Jackson? It was kind of the last minute. He said to kind of help him. Yeah. And I remember driving to Jackson that day, and because Mark told me on the phone, Mark said, Dan, all we got to do is get it out of committee. If we get it out of committee, it's going to pass. The governor's going to sign it. We just have to get it out of committee. Yeah. And so I remember it was on the House side. The Senate side, I think we were good, but it was on the House side, where we had to really do some work, to get it out of committee. I want to go back and talk about that Roe being overturned because you mentioned about elections. Right. And we have, in my opinion, the most important election of our lifetime coming up in November.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And so go back to Roe being overturned. Go back to when you were governor and the abortion is done away with in Mississippi. Right. You pass a 6-week Part B bill.
Right.
And now it's going to go before the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. If Hillary Clinton had won in 2016, President Trump was able to appoint 3 Supreme Court nominees to the Supreme Court bench. Right. If Hillary Clinton had won, there is no way that she would have appointed.
Of course not. We would have had the most liberal Supreme Court that we probably have ever seen. And so that case would have been stricken down, 15-week abortion, the gestation plan that we had at 15 weeks. So you got life that exists at 15 weeks. It would have never happened with liberal judges. In 1973, the Warren Court, out of whole cloth, created Roe v. Wade. That doesn't exist in the Constitution. There's no, our forefathers, founding fathers, no one ever envisioned the possibility that someone would want to abort a child, and, oh, by the way, we're going to allow that in the Constitution. So we knew it was a failed doctrine for years, for decades in 73, but there was no one, well, I shouldn't say that. There was just not a time until Donald J. Trump was elected president in 2016, and he changed the Supreme Court by the 3 conservative appointments of justices. Then the avenue opened. Mm-hmm. And God had that plan, whether you like it or not. Well, many people say, do you think God wanted to have Donald J. Trump elected president? Absolutely, because he wanted those 3 judges in place, because he's looking over here at Mississippi and say, I've got a plan to get that 15-week abortion act out of the House. I'm going to have to get Dan to drive all the way to the Capitol to help move some votes, and Mark Baker is going to be on there, and I will put words in his heart to be able to move people to vote that way. So 3 years from now we can overturn Roe v. Wade. I mean, isn't that amazing how God works? He didn't hit anybody with a bolt of lightning, but think of the thousands and thousands of children that are alive today because of those set of circumstances. And I always just felt how fortunate I was to be there at that time, to encourage, to help lead where I could, people who were insecure and uncertain. Can I vote for this? How will it look? You know, the media is going to attack us all. And I would say that's a badge of courage. The good Lord, I said, at least they're not feeding us to lions yet. That may come one day. But it was absolutely God's will that those circumstances take place. If Donald Trump's not in the presidency, we don't get the Supreme Court. Roe v. Wade is not only in effect, but I believe Hillary Clinton would have seen laws that would have moved abortion to a whole new level.
That's right.
Or it would have been what I call recreational abortion. It'd been available on every street corner. You don't want to be pregnant anymore? It's like going to the movies. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, we're going to make the taxpayers pay for it.
Yeah.
All in the military and foreign nations. They would have reached out to other countries and said, you know, it's not right for the women of Kenya not to be able to afford abortions. So we're going to help pay for that. The evil devastation that would have brought to the world, it is simply beyond our ability to understand this now. So when I hear people now say, well, I don't know if I can vote for Donald Trump. Why? He said something that hurt my feelings. Go look at the hundreds of thousands of babies that are alive today. That should take care of any harm and hurt feelings that you might have over a mean tweet.
Yeah. I like what my dad says. My dad says it. I've heard my dad say this many times. He said, when I vote for president, I'm not voting for a pastor.
That's right.
You know, I'm voting for a man that's going to lead this country. And that's what we want. We want somebody that's there, you know, that is leading this country, that loves this country. I've said this about Hillary Clinton, and I make no apologies about this about Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton is a modern day Jezebel. She, you know, for the Bible is evil. She's an evil person. Pure evil. Absolutely, she is.
With no conscience, no soul. She may have a soul, but it's lost. And I would be terribly criticized for saying it, but that is the truth, the way we see it. Now, we have to love one another, and I pray that one day she would be saved, that she might reach a point in her life where she would say, it's a dark and terrible place I'm in, and only God can lead me out of it. How wonderful would it be for her to stand up one day and raise her hand and say, hallelujah, I have been saved.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's what we ought to be praying for. Hope the Holy Ghost is in here right now.
Yes, sir.
So,
go ahead, Reed.
Well, whenever everything was happening, you know, with the abortion bill here in the state, was there ever a verse or a chapter or a book of the Bible that kept coming to you again and again?
You know, Isaiah, in 70, 31, 30 and 31, those that trust in the Lord shall mount up on eagle's wing. And they shall run and not grow weary, and walk and not grow faint. It just kept coming to me. It does not. Just in that just the idea of just mounting up on eagles and just not letting them wear you out. And that's exactly what it feels like. Media beats you down. You get so exhausted. It would be like I used to be a runner, and I would do everything I could to finish the last 25 or 30 yards hard. I'd push through as soon as I could see that finish line. But at the end of that, you were totally exhausted. I would have to kind of walk around and catch my breath. And that's where they want you. Media wants you to be. And what Isaiah is saying is, if you trust in the Lord, you're never going to be there. You're never going to be exhausted. Because, when you get tired, I used to be in martial arts, and my sensei would say, the first guy that loses his air loses the fight. Mm-hmm. So you can't catch your breath. If you're exhausted, you tend to give up. And Isaiah kept saying, trust in the Lord, and you're going to run and not grow weary. You're going to walk and not grow faint. That was my leading scripture.
I'm going to pivot to Donald Trump several times throughout this show because I think it's important that we get him reelected. I know that you and President Trump are close.
We are.
And I know that you're...
I pray for him every day.
The media, what they did to you is what they're doing to him now.
Right.
Every single day. They're crooked. Some of those guys, they will just outright lie. It is, and as I see that goes back to another reason why Christians, why we have to be engaged.
Have to.
I'm going to go back to 2016 because I was very engaged, and as I am now, but around the nation with Christians and with pastors. And, Governor, one thing that I saw in 2016 with pastors was I saw the enthusiasm was there.
Yeah.
I was part of still part of an organization called Mission to America, and we would have meetings in D.C., and we would bring pastors in from every single state. We would have every state represented in D.C., and it would literally be several thousand of us there. And we would be doing all that we could to get our people out to vote. That was in 2016. It was on social media. Pastors were hammering about getting out and voting, and Christians were on social media. We have to beat Hillary Clinton. And that was everywhere. We won in 2016. I'll never forget whenever at the inauguration, Franklin Graham got up to speak. And whenever he got up to speak, it started raining.
Mm-hmm.
And Franklin Graham said this. He said, I was watching. He said, when it rained in the Bible, anytime it rained in the Bible, it was a sign of God's blessings. And it only sprinkled for a few moments. It didn't start pouring down rain. It just dropped. So just a few drops.
Fans not far from the program.
So when Franklin Graham said that, I thought to myself, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that God was giving America another chance.
Right.
I believe God was saying, listen, you Christians, y'all, we prayed, we fasted, we had all-night prayer meetings, and we worked as hard as we could. And the Christians showed up to vote.
They did.
They were there on voting day. They showed up in November. They were there and ready to roll, ready to give everything that we had, bringing our friends to the polls. And then 2018 came. And the Christians, we let our foot off the pedal.
Right.
And then 2020 came. And, we know what happened in 2020 with, elections and just, everything was crazy. But the Christian...
Mail-in ballots.
Absolutely. It's unbelievable some things that happen. But still, I believe that a lot of pastors and Christians took their foot off the pedal.
They did.
And we didn't keep it on. Yeah. It's 2024.
Probably 5 million evangelicals that could have voted did not.
Wow.
5 million.
Wow. So now in 2024, I am beginning to sense, and this is what I want to ask you, I'm beginning to sense that Christians are saying, hey, we better wake up. We better get to the polls. We've got a man in the White House that doesn't even know where he's at when he wakes up in the morning. Yeah. He doesn't even know how to walk off of a stage. Yeah. He doesn't know to go to left, right, go behind him. he doesn't know where he's at. Mm-hmm. And now, if we don't beat this man, and if we don't beat the Democrat Party, the direction that they're taking this nation, as you look at this woke agenda, where they're pushing these transgenders and they're pushing these drag queens that come in and dance.
In the third grade. Drag queens coming to school.
It's unbelievable. It's sickening to see what's happening in our country. And if Christians don't wake up now, and if our churches don't wake up, and if our preachers don't wake up and say, we've had enough of this. Yep. And you got so many pastors, they're soft in the pulpit because they're scared they're going to run somebody off there. They don't want to offend somebody. And so we don't want to speak truth. We want to back off of our message. And then you have politicians backing off their message because they're afraid they're going to offend somebody. They're going to make somebody mad. Yep. Do you sense that now that maybe some Christians are beginning to wake up and start putting the gas back to do?
I'm part of an organization that helps that a great deal. The National Apostolic Christian Leadership Council, NACLC. It's about 4 million Pentecostals, and I'm Baptist. I'm sort of Baptist-Costal. So, but my goodness, they are getting so excited. We had Speaker Mike Johnson in NACLC hosted an event with him and Jackson, and there's a Bible scholar. There's a man that knows his God and is saved. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, so we're blessed with that.
He did a good job.
He did a really great job.
Good.
But I do see it in the evangelical community. Now, some of the other, as we know, the Methodist denomination is all but gone, and it's just heartbreaking. My wife was raised Methodist. I was in Methodist Church for many years. They opened the door to all sorts of wickedness, is the only way to put it. And so you see some of those that are being attacked. But we have to stand the courage that we now see that we have seen what they want. And what they want is our children. They want your child to know anything you want to be. If you want to be a girl, if you want to be a boy and you're a girl, any dressing room you want to go in, any activity you want to be involved in, not only are we going to let you, we won't tell your parents. I mean, the corruption of this, the days of Noah, a lot have referred to this. And we are in the days of Noah, and if Christians don't stand up, then no one will. I go back to, as I said earlier, they haven't fed us to the lions yet, or they haven't put us in gas chambers. But what they have done time after time is send a SWAT team of federal agents to people's front door.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman who was in front of an abortion clinic with his 10 or 11-year-old son. 2 years later, they came back and arrested him for trying to protect his son. He was being pushed and shoved. This is what Americans are now afraid of. I'm finance director for Donald Trump in Mississippi, so we raise money. I've talked to a number of very wealthy individuals that God has blessed that say, I can't give money to Donald Trump because the FBI would show up at my door.
Wow.
And think of what you just said. If you make a legitimate, honest campaign contribution to the Republican nominee for president, the FBI will come to your door. And they acknowledge that's a reality.
In the United States of America.
In the United States of America. Look what happens on college campuses. How many of these little spoiled brats that are on college campuses and outside agitators that are coming in saying from the river to the sea, destroy Israel, let the Muslim nation come in and Hamas and murder and rape every Jew and destroy it. On college campuses, they were at old Biff not 2 weeks ago.
It didn't turn out so well for them at Old
It didn't work out too well for them at Ole Miss. Like, bring that to a small town.
Leave that. Yeah, don't bring it to a small town. But they, I watched several videos of them singing the national anthem.
They're great.
And the one school were chanting Donald Trump. Donald Trump. And so I thought that was
USA. And yeah. But how many people in America could they organize to cover their faces and put a Muslim scarf around their head and chant death to the Jews? And this is not shocking enough that any pastor will get in their pulpit and say, I want every one of you to be registered and go and vote. And look, the entire nation was founded on Christian principles. And our founding fathers would say, if we ever stop believing in those Christian principles, those rights ordained by God, then this republic will not work. It's the only thing that's ever held it together. Well, as we saw Speaker Johnson say the other day, what they've done is taken God out of it. So now all you have are people. And when people get to make the decisions every time they make bad, because they want to be in power. You get a small elite to tell the rest of them, I will take from them and give to you. Now, we may have to kill them. We may have to put them in prison, but you get whatever they got. You know what those people will do? every time they will say it sounded like a good idea to me, because God's not ordaining their thought process. They go to church and they hear watered down pastors saying, as long as you're not hurting anybody, it's okay with us. And for heaven's sakes, I'm not saying anything bad about the federal government, so I don't want them kicking open the door of my church and storming in here. That's where we're at in America.
And if Biden gets reelected, it's going to get a lot worse. I don't think I could look at a government or regime anywhere else on earth and find one that is more evil than the Biden administration now. What you're talking about, the way that they're persecuting American people, busting in their doors in the middle of the night, hunting down January 6th protesters, it's absolutely evil, just violating constitutional liberty one after the other.
United States Capitol, you can be arrested and sent to prison. Now, if you go to the Mexican border and you bring 5 pounds of fentanyl across, or whatever you might be smuggling across, well, you're okay. We'll put you in a New York hotel room. But for goodness sakes, if you walk into the Capitol on January 6th, we're going to put you in prison. It's hard to imagine where this country has come in such a short period of time. That's a short period of time.
They have an agenda.
Oh, absolutely they do.
And it goes back to what you said a while ago. Their agenda is they're absolutely after our children.
Yes.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, our show was on the war against our children. And we talked about how they're trying to, they're infiltrating our schools. Mm-hmm. They have places in some of our schools where they will put a litter box because you have somebody that is transgendering into a...
They think they're a cat, yeah.
It's unbelievable what's happening, what's going on. And then they have these drag queens come in to our 5-6-year-old little girls and some pervert, dresses and in this drag, and then they get up and dance in front of our children.
A 14-year-old girl is being raped in the girls' room by a transgender male.
Yeah,
on it goes.
And last week we talked about the war against our Constitution.
Right.
And the Constitution, you mentioned a few minutes ago about the Constitution, there's 27 biblical principles that was written, within our Constitution. Several months back, I was preaching a message, and it was in St. Timothy Parish. They were trying to put some of these books in some of the schools that was just perverted. I mean, talking about things that no fifth grade ought to be reading about.
Right.
And so I got up on a Sunday morning, and I just, I caught into it a little bit.
Lay out the word.
I went after it. And I said, there's no way that we're to allow this filth in our schools. And we shouldn't be allowing these drag queens to come and dance in front of our schools. And I got this really kind email, it's several to be exact. But this one guy sent me an email and he said, I can't believe you're being so political, in the pulpit. And you should to keep politics, out of the pulpit. So I emailed him back, I'm a very nice guy, and try to be very polite. So I emailed him back, and I told him, I said, I really need you to watch my next message, and you really need to watch it. So I got up on Sunday night and at church, and this has been a few months back, and I said, tonight I'm not going to be political at all. I said, we're gonna refrain from being political. I said, but I didn't realize that standing against drag queens, coming in and dancing and talking to our 5-year-old little girls was political. I just thought that was common sense. I thought that was protecting our children. Yeah. I didn't know it was political to stand against killing unborn babies. Right. I thought that was just common sense. Right. I don't have to be Republican or Democrat or independent or libertarian to know that you shouldn't kill babies or that you shouldn't have grown men, dancing in front. I mean, there are some things that, or to be just common sense.
Right.
And you just refrain from doing some of those things.
Well, there was a civility in America where there was a line of civil order that we knew about. And it was all biblical. Of course, you read the Ten Commandments was a good place to start. We just didn't let you kill people. Yeah. Sorry, you just can't go and kill people. You can't steal things from people. And then as it got more defined, we would realize, well, it's probably not good to have children see pornography. Just a pretty easy thing to figure out, unless it's in their library.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying. You've heard some of the books being read before a education commission.
Embarrassing.
It's just horrible. I mean, I don't know if I could stand up there and read it, but parents are. But if that child, let's say that child is 12 and it went into a convenience store and say, I'd like to buy one of those Playboys over there. Well, the guy would say, I can't sell you a Playboy. I'm sorry, it's against the law. You got to be 21 or whatever the age limit is. But that child can go to the library where we buy the books, where we pay the librarian, and pick out a book that's just as pornographic as any article you could write in Playboy. I hadn't read an article in Playboy, but I know it can't be as bad as what I hear in our school systems.
Well, that's why, Governor, that's why I send my children to a private Christian school, Noble Christian Academy here in Gulfport, because I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about, my kids going to the library and getting some crazy book like that. But it's a shame that people would even allow that, in the library.
Dad, what we have to wonder is, what will it take? How far does it have to go? We've got children who are being transgendered. They're being chemically castrated to turn a 12 or 13-year-old child, a male, into a girl. And their parents, there's some, I see some Hollywood parents that are embracing that. Oh, I dress my little boy like girls. So that's not shocking enough. People go, oh, yeah, that's really bad. Okay, well, now they got pornography in the libraries. Now they're letting drag queens come and entertain the third graders. At what point the border is open? So what South America has done and Mexico is empty their mental institutions and their jails. So a little nursing student in Georgia gets raped while she's out running. There's no telling how many rapes and murders and homicides are taking place by the 10 to 12 million illegals that have crossed that border. 52,000 Chinese, military age Chinese, that's 52 battalions. And what are we worried about? Well, most parents, if you talk to them and they're in their 30s or 40s, they're worried about the soccer schedule or how I can get the kids to dance class. You just want to shake them by the lapel and say, you need to pay attention to what's happening. There are a few of us that continue to stand. I'll be 70 years old in December. When my generation passes on, then who's going to stand? Where are the men that the man bun crowd's going to stand up with their ARs and defend their home and property? I don't think so.
When you were talking about these suburban parents, whenever I think about these people, it seems clear to me that their deepest, darkest fear is being mistaken for being conservative, right? They're so afraid that all of their other suburban, middle-class friends are going to think they're conservative. They would rather be seen as a parent willing to castrate or mutilate their own children than be potentially seen as a Trump supporter in the eyes of their friends.
I think you're right.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took My Pillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented My Pillow to bring you the best pillow in history, My Pillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that My Pillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The My Pillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last My Pillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. My Pillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new My Pillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com.
So if you look at conservatives, they have to be concerned about the federal government. Just the other day, we were looking at, now they're going after truck drivers. Most truck drivers don't vote Democrat. Imagine that. But they have figured out a way to use a federal government, the Department of Transportation, to determine how much fuel additive you have that will reduce carbon. So they stop your truck and pull the fuel, and if you hadn't put enough product in there, then they pull your license. Just whatever the federal government can do to harass and harm conservatives, they're going to do it, and they're using every organization. There's Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Energy, Justice Department. Their whole goal just now is to go out and attack conservatives and register liberals to vote.
Yeah. So going back to all ago, you were talking about crossing over, coming over the border.
Right.
I'm a big proponent of building a wall.
Absolutely.
I think we are to build a wall 100 feet high, 10 foot deep in the ground, put concrete barricades, and then
Razor wire is pretty effective.
razor wires, guys on top with the AR-15s,
Yep.
and then have alligators in the river. Do you want it to stop? I want it to stop. I don't want people coming over illegally. I am for legal immigration.
Right. Absolutely.
I am for people coming to the United States of America. Look, if I lived in Mexico or if I lived, I'd be doing everything I could to get here. I'd hire me a good lawyer like Ben Bowden, who just walked in, and I'd be trying to get to America. The land of the free, the land of the brave. But I don't want people coming over illegal. Mm-hmm. And so in 2012, you signed some legislation requiring voters to show identification. That whenever you go vote, you pull out your ID and you show your ID. I went to state convention Saturday in Jackson for the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. When I went to get my credentials for the state convention, the gentleman behind the chair knew who I was. We've talked on the phone. We've had lunch together. We've been to meetings together. He knows that I'm Dan. But he asked me for my driver's license. Good for him. And I wanted to hear your driver's license. And so I pulled out my driver's license and I handed him my driver's license. When we had our county convention here in Harrison County, the guy behind that was taking credentials is Tom Carpenter. He is my friend. Tom and I, we have stood meetings together. We have been to lunch together. I mean, we have spent a lot of time together. When I went to get my credentials from Tom,
ID?
He wanted to see my ID. Tom, don't you know who I am? He's like, well, this is the Republican convention. This ain't the Democrat convention.
There you go.
And so when people go vote, I mean, isn't it just common sense to show your ID?
And what was that, 2014? We passed that bill?
2012.
At 12?
Yeah.
I think it was the first year I was governor. That's right. Have you heard anyone filing a lawsuit, anyone on television that said my rights were taken away from me, any lies backed up at voting places, any African Americans coming out and saying, oh, it's just, no, none. All of the horrible things that the Democrats and the media said, I was going to put Jim Crow back in place. I was going to harm all of these African Americans because, well, they have a driver's license or they couldn't drive here. If not, we said the state will give you free at no cost a photo ID. All you got to do is present it. Now it is so commonplace that nobody argues about it anymore. But it took, I think I began to try to do that when I was lieutenant governor in 2008. Took 5 years to finally overcome the liberal lies and deceit of how this was a Jim Crow, a white supremacist act. No, it's not. It's just we want to make it easy to vote and hard to steal.
Yeah.
And that's just simply, but I tell you, that common sense is a superpower.
Yeah.
And not many people have it anymore.
And it seems like every day as people are decreasing, that have common sense. My boss is here, Commissioner Wayne Carr. He just came in a few moments ago. And I don't
have common sense.
That man's got a lot of common sense.
He does.
And he's a very wise, intelligent man. So I've got to be careful what I say here because I don't want him to fire me.
I think we got to agree with about everything we say.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. But I believe that if a person gets to that line and they are going to go vote and they walk up to that person at a stand. When I walk in to vote, I vote Lima Community Center.
Right.
And when I walk through those doors, and I walk in there, the first thing that they ask me for, and I know most of them at the door, they wanted to see my ID.
When I walk in, we've got a little building at Midway and to Pike County on Highway 28, and I walk in and with Deborah, and they go, "Well, morning, Governor. How are y'all? Y'all come to vote? How you doing? I saw where you're planting some wildflowers out there. Yeah, we talk. Can I see your ID?"
That makes you feel better that they ask you for your ID.
Yeah, they asked me for my ID, and thank you very much. Because
that
is the law.
Absolutely, the old law. And so coming into 2024, in November 2024, we're going to have, in my opinion, the most important election of our lifetime. There's nothing that the Democrat Party, they would love to steal this election.
Oh, absolutely.
Donald Trump, I think the other night I read where he had 80 to 100,000 people at his election. Yeah, I mean, unbelievable how many people they had at his rally. And Joe Biden has. We have more people in the house, than Joe Biden has at his rally.
There's no way that man could win a presidential election. But what the Democrats have done is they understand the mechanism of an election. They don't care if he can give speeches, if he's qualified, who his running mate is, or they'd have never picked Kamala Harris. All they care is, can we get enough people to vote, doesn't matter if they're qualified or not, to be able to win this election. In 19 counties across America is what they need. They need to win 19 counties, a lot of them in those swing states in Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Pennsylvania, even Georgia now, which is shocking. Georgia can be a challenge. So they're looking at those 19 states and saying, if we get 4.5% more of the vote in these 19 counties, then we can win. They don't care about Mississippi or Texas or Tennessee. They forget about that. They don't have to set up campaign headquarters. You won't see any Joe Biden yard signs. None of that. They want Michigan and Wisconsin. So what has he got to do? All right, so Wisconsin's got a heavy Muslim population. Minnesota, he's got to try to cater to the Muslims by saying, I'm going to withhold weapons from Israel, withhold weapons from them, unless they do what I say and leave Gaza, leave Hamas alone. Let Hamas, even though they've got 150 of your men, women, and children that they still are capturing, I'm not going to let you have the weapons to go and prosecute that war.
Unbelievable.
And we just let him get away with it. There's just, America might re-elect that man.
Yeah, I believe that we are to give Israel, and I don't know, hopefully our opinions don't disagree on this, but I think we are to give Israel any and everything. Whatever they need to destroy. We talking about destroy.
Yeah. In fact, if Donald Trump was there, we'd probably have troops on the ground helping, and F-15s in the sky, whatever our latest model is in the sky, helping them in this thing.
We
end it with Hamas, and drag Iran into it. End it. We could end this year with Iran and Hamas. You take them out. I've been to Saudi Arabia, met the Crown Prince. He said, tell the president, this was when Donald Trump was president, he said, we want to be the best partner you've got in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. We could end this, but because Joe Biden needs 4.5% more votes in Minnesota and Michigan, he's going to try to stop Israel from destroying terrorists.
With that said, do you think there's a very real case to be made that maybe the Muslims might actually have more influence in our next election than even the Christians?
I think absolutely they will.
And that should be a terrifying thought, should it not?
You think Joe Biden cares about Christians? Like he cares about anything we think? No, he has got to have the Muslim vote. Absolutely. You just said it. The Muslim population that we've allowed to move into this country over the last 5-6 years could decide who the next president of the United States is going to be.
That's scary. It's a sobering thought.
What's going to happen after that? So what if they're in charge, if they say, we got you elected, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but here's what we want. We want to go to those Baptist churches. We want to go to those people that are conservative Christians and stop them so we don't have to fight them every 4 years. You know what the president said? You know what he said the number one threat to America is? MAGA voters. He stood in front of Constitutional Hall with those red lights in the background and said 3 or 4 times the MAGA voters.
He called us MAGA extremists.
MAGA extremists are the greatest threat to America. So if you know what the greatest threat to America is, what do? You try to take it out. You try to neutralize it.
And I hope every Christian that is home watching, every single Christian, every person that lives in the United States of America, and you call yourself a Christian, every single one of us are to be doing everything we possibly can to make sure that every single person that we know, every person that we go to church with, every single person that our children play soccer with, or Little League baseball, or Little League football, or what you go to the grocery store with them, every single one of us, we need to be doing everything we can to make sure that every single person gets out and votes in November. There should be no excuse for any of us not to get out and vote. We're privileged to live in Mississippi, and I believe it's my opinion, I believe it's the greatest state in the United States of America. And so there's a lot of things that I don't worry about in Mississippi, like they might be worried about up in Michigan. I'm just not worried about, I'm not worried about the police coming in our churches in Mississippi. I mean, we have awesome law enforcement. We have just great sheriffs, and we got our governor, obviously. And so we have in Mississippi, I'm not worried about them coming in here. Not today. I'm not worried about that. But in Michigan, where their population of Muslims is a lot higher, especially in certain parts of Michigan, and then some of these other states, they are worried about that. And because of that, Christians, we got to get out and vote. That's what this show's all about, God and Country. It's about getting Christians fired up to engage in the political arena. So many Christians have left the political arena. And that's why you have these drag queens coming in and they're trying to take over. And a lot of that, I go back to churches have gone soft, preachers have gone soft. We're worried about making somebody mad. We're worried about offending somebody. We can't be worried about offending somebody. You're going to offend somebody to just stand for.
I don't think Jesus worried about offending people.
Absolutely
not. When he called the Sanhedrin brood of vipers, when he fashioned a whip and ran them out of the temple, everybody go, oh, well, Jesus loved everybody. Yes, he did. But he would tell the truth quicker than anybody I knew.
Absolutely. He turned the tables over.
They
because they were
time for us to turn a few tables over.
It's time to. But it goes back to a lot of people want a seat at the table, and they want to see that a table needs to be thrown on the yard. A table needs to be
It's hard to. We love to be in Mississippi, but the Democratic nominee for governor, who's as big a Joe Biden supporter as you could find in America, claimed and loved, supported Joe Biden, received 48.5% of the vote against a Republican sitting governor. Brandon Presley, a devout liberal, I think liberal Democrat, supported Joe Biden, got 48.5% of the vote in Mississippi in the governor's race. That's how close we could be here to changing everything.
So, and I'll tell you this, if you take 18 to 30-year-olds in Mississippi, and this is really scary, and if you take 18 to 30,
right,
go back to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, 18 to 30, Mississippi, Hillary Clinton wins.
Right.
She wins. 18 to 30, Joe Biden, Mississippi, Hillary Clinton, or Joe Biden wins.
Yeah.
So we as Republicans and we as older, the older generation, I'm not in the older generation, but I'm still a young person.
Mm-hmm.
We have to figure a way, and I don't have all the answers, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have the answers, but we have got to figure out a way to get our message to that next generation, because in 20 years, that 58% that Brandon Presley got, he's going to get to 50+1 if we keep going down the road.
52%, 51%. That's right.
Absolutely, because that 18 to 30-year-old, the Democrat Party has won. We only have about 9 minutes left. And so, but I want to jump into something because there's a lot of things that we had on here, and we've only gotten to 2. But I have
they were 2 gutters.
Yeah, so I have 25 questions.
It's been an awesome show, though.
Yeah. So, but you passed a law, or you back in 2016. There was a lot of violence in churches.
Yeah.
Where people going in and shot up some churches, and you led the charge whenever it comes to guns in churches,
Yeah.
which I think was very good, good legislation as far as allowing the church, to arm or have a security team. And of course, that security team they need to go to training. They need to have, their sheriff or have the sheriff in the county, come in and train, or have police officers come in and train the people whenever it comes to the security team. I know in our church, we have a small security team. My church is a small church, but we have a small security team, and we have, our sheriff, come in and talk to the church and do some training. And I really appreciate, the sheriffs and the police officers who are willing to do that. But it goes back to your legislation. So I just want to ask, about that piece of legislation. What was your thoughts, behind that piece of legislation?
I realized there had been a real threat to Christians, and we saw across the country armed, active shooters come into churches. And so the law was saying, but you can't even protect yourself. So I realized at that time I would visit my mother-in-law, who was in a church in West Jackson. She lived in West Jackson, and I would carry a weapon, because I just was not going to go there with my wife and my grandchildren or my children and allow someone to come in the back door. There was a real threat of people just coming in and opening fire. I wanted to give them their constitutional rights to keep and bear arms. And what a better place to do it than inside the church? Or you think anybody that's in there that is well-trained, that is protecting those people that are in the church worshiping, it will go outside and be a gang member or actively shoot at someone? No, of course not. That's never going to happen. They weren't a threat to go. Now, you could have gone a few miles away from that church in West Jackson and found some gangbangers that were going around shooting in people's houses and cars. Oh, but don't worry about them. What we got to worry about is these conservative Christians that want to carry guns to protect their membership.
Yeah.
So we just said that's exactly what we're going to do. And again, the left went crazy. It's not a far trip for them. They're very close to crazy.
Can you tell the story when you signed it?
I did. I had my grandmother's Bible always on my desk. I took the oath of office in, and I kept a 9mm Glock in my desk drawer in case we had an active shooter in the Capitol. I didn't want to be hunkered down behind my desk. So that day it just hit me as all the media and everyone was gathered in, people behind me for the signing of the bill. I took the pistol out and put it on top of the Bible, and I said, there is your First and Second Amendment rights, and I'm about to sign this bill. And oh my goodness, they just lost their head. They couldn't believe I pulled out a loaded weapon. I thought it wasn't any good if it wasn't loaded for my own protection, and put it on top of my Bible.
I may or may not have any guns in my house. I may or may not. And so last week on the show, we may or may not have had a couple AR-15s and a couple shotguns.
I may have had a burglary while I was gone.
A tragic boating accident.
A tragic boating accident where I had all my guns.
Yeah, I wrote an article several years ago on why I believe every American ought to own 3 guns. Or no, 1 gun. It was just 1 gun. I believe every American ought to own 1 gun. And I got a few hate emails and a few text messages and stuff that was pretty rough. And so I had a change of heart, and I wrote an article on why I believe every American ought to own 5 guns. And you need to have a good handgun. You need to have a good AR-15s. You need to have a good shotgun. You need to have a good hunt rifle, and then you just need to have a 5th gun just for the fun of it.
That's right.
Just found a truck. That's right.
Get a musket, a good American tradition.
Let me ask you this question. We're almost out of time, but can you discuss or talk about how your Christian faith influenced your political decision-making during your tenure as governor?
It gives you the strength to withstand the worldly attacks. If you have the fear that comes about without faith, and you fear you're going to lose an election, you fear bodily harm, which is rare, but it could happen. You fear the media and what they will do to attack you. Now you had to fear the federal government to some extent, because there were lawsuits filed. Constantly lawsuits were filed going to a federal court by an Obama judge somehow he kept getting every case that I was involved in went to the same Obama judge, federal judge. Now you just think, we tried to find out how that happened, and they kept saying, oh, we move it around, and he just keeps getting your cases. So the only way that you can sleep at night is replacing that fear with your faith and just believing that God sent you there for that purpose, and whatever happens to you is going to be his will, and that it's worth it. If I had to go to prison, they came in and said, you keep trying to stop abortion, and we're going to put you in jail right now, I'd have to say, give me a few months to say goodbye to my wife. That's where Christians have to be. If we're going to take you outside right now and put you in front of a firing squad, we're going to have to get ready to say, that'll be just fine because I'm going to paradise. I don't know where y'all are going to be after that, but I'm going to be in paradise. Now people can say, oh, that's crazy talk. That will never happen. Ask the people that walked in the Capitol on January the 6th. I saw the second defendant that shot himself the other day, committed suicide before he'd have to go to prison for walking into his Capitol. So, yeah, our very lives can be it.
That also happened a couple of years ago with another defendant, Matthew Parnut.
Yep. One this has happened to. But my faith in God, you might bend like that big old tree out there in the wind, but you're not going to break.
Yeah. We have time for one more question, and then I'll close this out, so I'll let you ask.
You go ahead.
What do you, looking back, what do you consider to be the most significant lessons that you learned about leadership, governments, and intersection of faith and politics during your tenure? What would you say is a great?
I think you learn that you have to have the ability or the blessing. God has to help you get enough other people to help you achieve your dream. I could dream and hope and pray that we were going to end abortion in Mississippi, and I could do that all day long. But unless I got other people in this great republic of ours to say, I'm going to vote for your bill, I'm going to support that piece of legislation, none of that would ever happen. And so it was a matter of being able to see the heart of the good men and women in the Mississippi legislature and in the statewide elected positions, see their heart and encourage them to stand for a principle. That God had given us this brief opportunity. Look, I was in public life for 30 years, but it seemed to pass so quickly. But it's a brief moment in time to try to make a difference that God gives you. But you can't do it alone. I had a great team around me. I had a great chief of staff, great lawyers, legislators. But God said, okay, I'm going to give you this vision. But, if Moses had gone and all of them had said, we ain't following you, we'll stay right here, even after all that had happened with the plague, Moses would have been by himself in the desert. So you've got to convince people, just follow me. If you can follow me, but follow what God has given me the opportunity to show you, and we can follow him together.
So when you say great chief of staff, you're talking about before Joey Sanji?
I had 4 great chiefs of staff. Before Joey, and after Joey. But seriously, the team that we put together was probably the best staff any governor ever had, and that meant in everything.
Well, listening to you talk about that last bit, you sound a lot like my boss, Commissioner Wayne Carr. And, he has a vision and things that he wants to accomplish. And it's good, it's really good whenever you have a leader, that is leading in that role. That's about the people. That's about the citizens. Mm-hmm. And one thing that he constantly, says to us and in our meetings and things that I hear him constantly talk about is it's about the citizens.
That's right.
It ain't about me. I've heard him say that. It's about the citizens. Yeah. It's about the decisions that we make today. It's going to affect our citizens. And I appreciate that about, Commissioner Carr, who's my boss, and it's been a joy working, alongside him, over the last several months, and really looking forward to seeing all the great things that he accomplishes.
The sovereigns, and we are the servants.
Yeah.
That's why we're called public servants. And if we ever forget that, we are all in trouble.
Well, Governor, we're running out of time, but is there anything else you'd like to, any last message?
No, I want to say thank you. This is amazing to be able now. We talked earlier, Reed and I, about how we've got to meet the liberals on their own battlefield. And that starts with the media. So what people see on television, what are they reading, what are they hearing? I mean, we have to encourage them to watch your program and say, Dan feels like I feel. He's reinforcing what I thought, because what they want you to believe is, if you're a MAGA extremist, if you believe in God, if you carry your weapons, if you make your children go to church on Sunday, then you're the greatest threat to America. And so you think, am I something wrong with me because I believe in all those things? Of course not. You're an American. That's what's happening to you.
Well, I could tell you, one thing about the show, this is our 8th one, so we're learning still as we go, and Reed has done a really good job, him and Jim, behind the scenes getting the message out. And so we really enjoyed, just trying to get out the message of, it's important for Christians to engage in the political arena. And there are so many Christians, they feel like either one, that nobody thinks like them. And you hear and you say, other people see, and it encourages other people to get involved.
That's exactly right.
You encourage me, you encourage Reed, you're going to encourage our, the audience that's watching, because Christians can make a difference.
That's right.
They can make a difference.
Yeah.
And so thanks for coming on our show today. Really
honored to do it.
Thank you. We'll love to have you back again later.
Absolutely.
Once again, I'll just say as we close out, really appreciate each and every one of you for watching our show. If you haven't already shared, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, across our Substacks, even on Mike Lindell, His Glory, all of the different platforms, where this TV show is broadcasting. It really helps us whenever you share. None of the social media platforms likes our message. So the algorithms are against us. And so anytime you share, it really helps us as far as getting out our message, the message of life, the message of liberty, the message of pursuit of happiness, the message that Christians can engage. And we need every Christian in these United States of America to engage in the political arena. It's important. We need you. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you, and God bless the great United States of America.
Hey guys, it's Reed here. I don't say this about a lot of people, but I have to say Mike Lindell is a real patriot, and we could not be more thankful to him and MyPillow for sponsoring today's episode of God and Country. Remember, go to MyPillow.com and save huge on a great night of sleep by entering the promo code Midnight Ride. Thanks.